Right, okay, so Microsoft Teams, it's a bit of an introduction, and I've got an echo, which I hope disappears soon, otherwise I will find it difficult to speak. Okay, so, you've got some, when you move your cursor on your screen, you'll notice that you get a little menu pop up that looks like this one here. And just before we kind of really get cracking, it's a good idea for you to know what each of those buttons does, because they'll always come up in your application when you're in a meeting online. Some of them are slightly different in the desktop app, which is what I'm showing you here. So if you don't have the options, it's on the ellipsis in the middle that they're slightly different. So just so you're aware, first of all, you've got a call timer there. So all the time you're in a meeting, it's keeping track of how long you've been in the meeting or how long the meeting has been running. So it's quite useful if you're working to a deadline and you've got an hour-long meeting, it should stop you running over time. The next one here is to be able to have the camera on or off. So if there's a line through it, then we can't see your picture. If there is not a line through it, we can see you. So be very careful if you've decided to only dress your top half for your meeting. I've seen some very funny things online with Zoom where people have been dressed in their work stuff from here, from the middle up. And then I've got up to get something. So always good for a laugh, but probably not what you want to be doing. There's also the microphone, so you can mute and unmute your microphone. There are controls within the meeting that allow you to mute all, so sometimes it's a good idea to do that if there's lots of background noise going on, because it can be quite disturbing for other people. So if there's a line through it, you're muted, but if you want to talk, you can click on it and unmute yourself. So don't feel that you have to be muted all the way through this meeting. I'm quite happy for you to interrupt me if you want me to explain anything. Moving a little bit further along, there's a little chat window. So if you click on your chat window, it will actually open up a little window on the right-hand side where you can type messages. If there are unread messages in there, you'll see a little red spot on that menu that will show you that there's something in there you haven't seen. Next to that is the show participants. So if you want to know who's actually in the meeting or who's waiting in the lobby, you can click on this show participants window. It replaces the text window, so you'll only see one or the other of them. I'm going to skip past the next one. So these three little dots in the middle here will do different things depending on which app you're using, but it's where you can blur your camera and add a custom background. The custom background is quite new, so we're all still playing with that quite a lot at the moment. If you want to put a background on, you have to do it through the desktop app. You can't do it if you've joined online. That's also where you blur your camera. Please don't click this button while I'm presenting, because this one is for you to share your screen. So if you are already sharing your screen, there'll be a little X at the bottom of this symbol. But if you need to share your screen, that's where you do it. And then there are some other options there, but don't do it during this. And then the last one, which also I don't want you to do, is the hang up. So when you've finished a meeting or at the end of a meeting, you can leave it. There is a facility now to end a meeting, but only the person who creates the meeting, I think, gets that opportunity. So you will get a copy of these slides. So if you forget what any of these are about, that is on the slide that you'll be getting a copy of. Okay, so working from home with Teams, I guess that's what everybody's been doing recently, and that's what you're all here for. So if you've been doing that for a couple of weeks, you probably already know that you can chat with your colleagues in a team, and you probably already know that you can have video meetings like this one online when you can actually physically see each other's pictures, etc. So remember that camera tip. You can collaborate on documents at the same time, so you can all have the same document open and actually be working on it together at the same time. So that's quite a nice little feature. And you can also chat with individuals. So I'm fairly sure that you've probably already mastered most of those, but there's a few other things that I've thought about this morning. So did you know you can also clear the clutter from your window? So if you're a member of like 20 teams, your left-hand Teams pane can be a pain, quite literally, because there's so much on it. So I'm going to show you some things to help you with that. Did you know that you can save conversations so that you can easily find them again? There's various things that you can pin as well. And also, if you want to talk to somebody else, if the person you need is not available, did you know how you can do that? So we're going to go through some stuff like that. Plan a project. So there's an app called Planner. Oops. make your message more visually interesting. So you might have only just played with texting really, but you can do an awful lot more. So we'll go through some messaging stuff as well. And then providing I can do it through here, I'll also show you how to add a background, which is the desktop version only. So first of all, we're going to just see a little video, and this is where I think I might have forgotten to click the button. Bear with me, I'm going to unshare because I think I've forgotten to put the sound on. Bear with me. Yes, I did. So, right, sorry about that. I'll get it right in a minute. Okay, so this is a very brief little video about...
Hi there. Welcome to Microsoft Teams, a collaboration app that helps your team stay organized and have conversations all in one place. Let's start with, what else? Teams. Here, you can see a list of all the teams you're part of. Teams are made up of channels. You can build them by topic, department, or just for fun. Channels are where the real work gets done, where you hold meetings, have team conversations, and share files. At the top of each channel, you'll find tabs. They're like links to your favorite files, apps, and services. Want to have a quick on-the-spot meeting with people in your channel? Select Meet Now. In a meeting, you can show content from your computer or record your meeting. When you share a file in a channel conversation, you and your team can edit it at the same time and share thoughts alongside it. To find all the files that have been shared in a channel, go to the Files tab at the top of the channel. To see all the files ever shared across the team, click Files on the left. Want to talk privately with a person or group? Click New Chat at the top and type their names. Give the chat a name to make it easier to find later. To make a call directly from a chat, click Video Call or Audio Call. In some cases, if your organization has set it up, you can call anyone from Teams using calls, even if they're not using Teams. In meetings, you can see everything you've got lined up for the day or week, or schedule a meeting. This calendar syncs with your Outlook calendar. Go to Activity for a view that lets you catch up on all your unread messages, @mentions, replies, and more. And use the command box to search for specific items or people, take quick actions, and launch apps. Convenient, right? And don't forget to download the mobile app so you're in sync when you're on the go. Thanks for watching. Now bring in your team and let the collaboration begin.
Okay, so I just want to check that I've shared an appropriate window with you. So what we're going to actually do now is go and look actually in a version of Teams. So this is the demo version of Teams that Microsoft used for putting together that video. So as mentioned before, I'm just going to show you a few tips. I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail about all the functionality, but if you want to know something and you don't know how to do something, I'm quite happy to show you that also. So we're going to start off with decluttering. So at the moment, this particular team or this particular team session, this person is a member of several different teams, and I suspect that many of you are in the same boat where you've got lots and lots of different teams here, some of which you use every day, some of which you might only use a part of. And sometimes it can get a little bit daunting as this scroll bar becomes longer and longer and longer. So there are some things that you can do to help yourself with that. The first one being that you can collapse any of your teams down so that you're only seeing the little icon and the name of the team. Notice that some have bold text, and that means that you have text. There is text in there somewhere that you haven't read. So for example, if I expand retail, there's something in this channel, NC460, that I haven't read. So I could go and have a look at that. But there are other things that you can do. So at the moment, all of the teams that this person is a member of are on show. you can choose to hide them. So let's say, for example, I only work on a small part of the Mark 8 project team and I only really need to look at it once a month. I can choose by clicking on the three little dots to hide it. And in fact, I can hide several of these teams because I don't use them on a daily basis. Okay, now they're not gone, they're not deleted, and you can see them just by clicking on hidden teams. So it expands them down. Now, if you find that you're generally working in just one channel, you could effectively hide all of your teams and just show the one channel that, or the one or two channels that you're actually using. So now everything is in hidden teams. And I'm going to suggest that I'm part of the Mark 8 project team, but I'm only really involved in the design. So if I click on the design more options, I can actually pin that to the top. So now, although the Mark 8 project team is hidden from view, the channel that I work on is actually pinned to the top. So I can easily find it on a daily basis when I go in to use it. And you can do that for a few channels. I wouldn't put too many on, because if you put lots on, you do defeat the object of having just one or two pinned. Otherwise, you'll end up with a list as long as your original Teams list was. Another few things that might help you when you're trying to find things. For example, sometimes is there somebody waiting to come in? Okay. Sometimes you might find that there's a particular conversation of interest and you want to be able to find it again in a hurry. So let's imagine that this conversation with Johanna Lorenz is something that's important to me and I want to be able to easily find it. Without bookmarking it in some way, it can become a bit daunting to find, which team project did I have that conversation with? Was it in this? Was it in the design channel? Was it in the general channel? I'm pretty sure it was with Johanna, but I'm not 100% sure. So if you know that you're going to want to go back to something, you can literally just click on these three little dots and choose Save This Message. And what that does is it will save everything in this thread. So this thread also has some replies. So it's a complete conversation that we've now bookmarked. And the way to be able to go back to it, so let's just go to a different channel. So we go to a totally different team, a different channel, and then you click onto your your profile. So that will probably be your photograph, or it might just be your initials. But if you click onto that, you'll see that underneath you have something called saved. So if you click onto saved, it will show you any conversations you've saved. So it's easy to find your way back to them. So I've got two saved there. One of them is not very useful, but yeah, this is one that perhaps I might want to go back to. When you've finished with it, so let's say I don't want to look at this test general anymore, it's been finished with, I just click on the same little bookmark and it unsaves the message. So I'm not cluttering my saved messages, because again, if you bookmark too many things, it becomes a pointless exercise because you have so many things that are bookmarked. So coming back to Teams, a couple of other little features that you might like. So I'm kind of assuming you all know, but you might not. If you want to start a chat with somebody, you can just click on this little icon at the top here. It was shown in that little video. And you can enter somebody's name, you can enter several people's name, and you can start a conversation with them here. So let's just say I want to talk to Adele. And once I've started that conversation with her, I can either video call her or telephone her. But let's say I've made an attempt to contact her and I can't get hold of her. What I can actually do is click up into the top here and type who. Now, this brings up an app which you can add. It depends on the policies of your organisation. But this little app here called Who is quite useful. And if you install it, it puts a little new icon at the left-hand side. And it's It's quite useful for being able to find information. So I can say, what can I do? So who works with, who reports to, who have I messaged about, who was in the meeting about? And the one that I actually previously did is who works with. So I think I have to put in, I might have ruined it because I've already played with it once. No, obviously not. So bear with me. I think it might be who, Adele. Oh, that's embarrassing. But anyway, I'll just do the, what can I do? Type your question here. Who, here we go. Who works with Adele Vance? Goes off and it comes back. It says, I found 6 people in your organisation who worked with Adele Vance, and here they are. So these are all people that I could talk to again, and I can choose to pin this query if I want to, and then I can easily find it again. So if I choose to pin it, I can't remember where it goes now. Anyway, you can choose to pin it and it will appear again. It's probably up here actually, peers, collaborators. You can also do things like the organisation chart. So a lot of things that people don't know. But here, who was in the meeting? It might be what is coming up today. Just trying to think of some of the ones that I've messed around with. Who knows about project management? I don't know what sort of result we'll get here, but nobody. So there's nobody in this particular organisation that knows about project management. But if there were people that had put in that they had a skill of project management, it would give you a list of them. So there's a few little things in there that are quite handy. There's also the organisation chart. So up at the top here, you can actually see your organisation. It doesn't exist in here. I can show it to you on our own one. It will also show you upcoming meetings. So these are the meetings that are coming up. I think these are the pinned meetings here. So these are the pinned that I was couldn't find. So, you know, it kind of gives you a standard messaging way, like a chat bot that helps you to find certain things that you might not have thought of asking, but it makes it a nice, easy way to do it. One of the other apps I mentioned was Planner. So Planner is I'm a big fan of Planner because it's such a great little tool, and I'll show you how it works. So you don't have to do it in Teams, but it helps if you do it in Teams. So I've already said that I'm part of the design project in Teams, and I have a plan here that I've already created. So here is a plan here. There's not much information in it at the moment, but if I wanted to add it and hadn't done before, I can literally just click on this little plus and choose planner. And essentially what it will do is bring up one of these. So you'll notice that straight away you've got a few little menus. So you've got a to-do and you've got an add new bucket. Now to-do is a bucket. And you can use a bucket for dividing certain types of tasks. So you might have, I don't know, the one I used to use was build a camper van. And I'd have a whole bucket of things about buying the van. And then another bucket about, you know, converting it to be a camper van. And then there'll be another one about planning my world tour. And then another one about food. So, excuse me. If you want to add a task, you literally just click on add task and you give it a name. So the first one would be buy van, set a due date. So if I'm going to make it in time, I need really to be able to get that by the 8th of May. I know I'm being a bit ambitious here. And I can assign it to any one of these people. And so I've assigned it to Diego, and then I click on add task. And what happens then is Diego will get a task to say you've been assigned this piece of work. Now, there's more to it if you actually double click to open it. There's much more that you can put in the task than it shows you when you just click on add task. So you can say, oh, I'm looking for a VW 1960s, say. You can have a checklist on there, so you can say 1960 to 1965 split screen mileage. Oops. So 10,000 pie in the sky. I can also add attachments, and I can choose to show it on the card. So if I just tick that little box there, it actually shows it in the task list over on the left-hand side here. And then when I've done all that, I can just close it. So now Diego will have a look at that, and he can actually report his progress in this task, so that at any point in the future, I can have a look and say, rather than phoning him up and saying, hey, Diego, how are you getting on with that van? I can see at a glance if he's completed it, or whether he's found one that's 1960 to 1965 but hasn't got a split screen, that kind of thing. And I can assign more than one person if I want to, so it doesn't have to be a one-person job, so you could have several people working on it. So then you add another task to say convert the van and set that due date by, let's say, by the end of December. And I can assign that to, I might just assign that to myself. Go, I'm the mod administrator in this particular one. And add that task. I can add a new bucket here. So I can say, okay, this particular bucket is going to be the build. Okay, and in that I'm going to say, oh, replacement engine. And I'm going to just assign that to Adele. So what you do is you just add more and more tasks. And then when you've done all that, people can progress through these tasks, and they can they can continue to update it. So, just pressed the wrong key. That was just teach me. So those messages then will get stored. So you end up with this list of messages that are all linked to that same task. In addition to that, you'll see you've got these little post-it note type things that help you to identify. So I could say that instead of calling it pink, I'm going to say that it is the garage needs to do that for me. And you can name these how you want, but then that becomes like a little category. And you can actually use that for sorting. So if we look at the grouping by, those little post-it notes are labels. So at the moment, I've just got that one garage one, which actually I didn't add in the end. So if I just pop that garage, then that comes under garage. So this one might be electrician, this one might be kitchen units. So you can break your project up into lots of different areas. And then as people go through and do the work on them, so if I just open this one and say, okay, he started this job, so it's in progress, just tick a couple of things on there and then close it. So now you can see at a glance that this project has already been started. And you can sort by who it's been assigned to. You can sort it by progress. You can sort it by the due date. And you can sort it by the labels, which I've shown you. I haven't put any priorities on, but you can also sort by priority. These are all medium priority. In addition to that, so by default, it sorts by bucket. In addition to that, you can get a progress. So this is the board, and this would obviously get very full. But you've also got charts and the schedule. So the schedule will show it to you on a Gantt chart. There's not very much in here because I haven't put many tasks in, but we should see one in December. There we go. And also you can look at charts, which give you straight away your kind of project board, so it can see I've got this many to do. 2 not started, 1 is in progress. None of them have gone past their due date yet. These are the people that they're assigned to. And the other nice little thing about it is if you go over to the left-hand side and click on here, that's typical, and choose planner. I'm hoping it's in there, yeah. And choose planner from here. What this will actually do is give me all of the tasks that I have been tasked with. You see, it hasn't got all of the project tasks in it, it's just got the ones that I need to do, and even from different plans. So I've got one place where I can see all the tasks I need to do. I can sort those in the order that they're due. I can sort them by bucket. I can, you know, there's all kinds of different ways that I can sort them, but that just gives me my own. So as the team leader, I might want to look at the overall, but I sometimes find that if I'm trying to do some work, I don't want all that clutter in my window. I just want to know what I'm responsible for. So again, it's another way that you can kind of declutter. Now, one of the other things I want to just quickly show you is how you can make these messages a little bit more interesting. So at the moment, possibly all you're doing is either talking to somebody or saying, oh, here is a new file for you to review. That kind of thing, which is nothing wrong with that, but sometimes you might want to make a bit more of an announcement. So just so that you're aware, these little tools down the bottom here are all quite useful. The first one is the format. So if you click on that little capital A, it will change the window. So you can already see that there are lots more tools you can use in these conversation windows. So you may not be aware, but you can put tables in here even. I don't know what I'm going to put in it, but well, I suppose you might put some people responsible for, so name, job, due date, something along those lines. If you just got half a dozen things that you wanted to put in and didn't want to make a plan, you can also, let's just put in some text. It's very similar to most of my messages, read something like this, but you can select something and you can highlight it. You can change the size of the text. You can make it bold or italic or strike through. You can use styles. So you might want to have here, you might actually want to use a heading 2 style. Oops, sorry, wrong bit. So here you might want to change to be a heading. Oh, anyway, let me just put my subject in. Put that back to paragraph. I think that's probably already a heading. Anyway, you can format it. There's another thing that you can do that is quite useful. You can decide that it's important. So this little exclamation mark here actually puts this big red bar down the side so that it's really easy for people to notice. Obviously, only do it when it is important, because if everybody wants their messages read first and everybody puts important, they become pointless. So that's just worth bearing in mind. You can use bullets, pull quotes. You can make things look a little bit different. So there's quite a lot of functionality literally just in that format. You can also change it to be an announcement. So then you get this big bold here, and you can also add pictures. I'm not sure what I'd have available to me. Possibly, I might have something uploads. There we go. So we can put in my Bluebell background. It's too large. Okay, so it's got to be a smallish picture, otherwise obviously it's going to slow the system down. You can change the color of it, so you can say, no, I want this to be really big and bold. And then when you finish, you can post your message just like that. So that's going to show up really well, and you get this exclamation mark at the top. Other things that you can use are these little stickers. So you can use emojis. These are all animated, or most of them are animated. So you can send your little messages with something at the end of it to lighten it. These are configurable to be on or off. So if you don't see these, then somebody in your organization has switched them off. I always encourage people to have them switched on, because although they may seem a bit light-hearted, it's all we've got nowadays. We can't give anybody any other kind of support. So, it's good to have something. In addition, you've got the GIFs. So here you can search for a GIF. I don't know what we're going to do. Let's see what we get with coronavirus. Oh, here we go. We'll just use him. So you can add these to messages too, and there's also the stickers that you can use. So all these ones that have got words on, you can alter the words, which I didn't know for ages. But the ones that have got the words in are really, really good. I really like these. So we might want to say, rather than can't think, it's like, and then click on done. So that can be part of another message. So it doesn't have to be on its own. You can still have a message. There we go. So they can all exist at the same time as some standard text as well, or you can fit them into something more sophisticated if you wish. So there's just one more thing on my list of things to show you, which I can't show you on this version because this is the online version. But if you want to know about where your backgrounds and your blur background exists on your desktop version, I'll show you that. But before I do, has anybody got any questions on what they're using Teams for and if they want any help on it? Okay. Is that a question coming through?
It's all very quiet there, isn't it?
That's
guys,
right. I
if
sometimes
any
wonder
of you
whether
think
I'm
of
on my
anything
own.
after, if anyone thinks of anything after, don't hesitate to drop me an email and I can pass those through and make sure I get you a good answer, guys. Anyway. So.
All right. Well, let me just share my screen to show you that last little tip, which is on the Teams. So this is on the Teams version that we're using now. So the camera settings are all on these three little dots. Sometimes when you first connect to a meeting, you'll get an option to blur your background or show your background effects, but it's basically here. So if you click on show background, you get this option of all of these different backgrounds, which you can put in. And you can put in your own as well. That's a little bit more sophisticated, but you can put your own in as well. But it comes with a fair few. If you want to pretend that you're in a nice, quiet environment and there's nobody else there, you can pick a different one. And then you just apply. So that's really where it sits. And now you can see I'm sitting in a very plain background. Okay, stop sharing. And if nobody's got any questions, I'll hand you back to Paddy. I'm happy to take questions.
My mute button was playing temperamental. I've just put a link up on the chat for the meeting. If you do paste that into your Microsoft Explorer, then that will take you to the place where you can actually upload your own backgrounds, if for any of you that are interested.
I can see there's a question come in actually, Paddy, from Laverne.
Sharing a document.
Sharing a document. Do you want to know how to share a document, Laverne? Are you able to take yourself off mute?
Yeah, just basically how do you, if you got something in a folder, or even if it's something on the internet you wanted to share that with someone else in a conversation, could you do that? Or presentation?
Yes, you can. Yeah, let me just reshare my screen with you. Hold on a moment. Just come back to my Teams environment. Okay, so you mean in a conversation like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put in, I don't know many, there's quite a lot of names in here, but I can never remember. There we go, I've got Nesta. Okay, so I've got Nesta here, and we're in the middle of having a conversation. There are other tabs here. So there are so I've got a files here where I can actually share information. So I can upload from my computer or from OneDrive here. Now, the thing to be careful of is this is just a chat, and you don't want to end up with too many files that are just sitting on your OneDrive, because your OneDrive, basically, if you left, your OneDrive stuff is much more difficult to retrieve. But it might be just, I don't know, you might have a darts match or something, and you just want to share the score or something silly like that. Then you just literally upload from your OneDrive. I don't know whether there'll be anything in here because obviously it's not mine. I don't know what PBIX. Let's put in so here I'm now sharing this file with Nesta, and I am, come on, you might not have access to it, so you can only share stuff that you've got access to. But it's more sensible if they are proper files that you're using in a project. So let's say I'm doing something in the design, it would be better to put the file in here, because that way it will stay. And again, you can upload from here. You can either upload a file or a folder. And then basically everybody that's part of this team has access to that file, and then you can all have it open at the same time, and you can all edit it at the same time. So even if you're using it locally, I'm trying to think. I think on my last one, I logged 2 different accounts, which is a little bit more complicated. But basically, if I opened this in Excel, if there are other people using it, you will see. Okay, bear with me. I've got to remember what the password is now. Bear with me 2 ticks. I store my demo one in my OneNote because I use it so often. Oh, come on. It's not playing ball. Copy. Open. Oh, I know why. Because I'm not logged in as me, so I don't have an account. Because this is a demo version. I'd have to show you on our own version of Teams. So hopefully there's something in here I can show you that's not sensitive. I think we've got some stuff in a demo on here somewhere. Ooh, okay, well, I'm just going to go into
So
something that I
just
know
got a
will be
note
harmless.
from Kim there, Heidi, that says, so does it need to be in Teams rather than in a chat to be editable by everyone?
Well, if you put it into chat, it will be everybody who is in the chat will have access to it, providing they're not. I think it's actually giving them a share to it, so it should mean you can all use it. But you'd all have to be in the same chat. But again, it's better not to use the chat for permanent storage, because eventually that could become a problem, and it means stuff is stored all over the show. Whereas if you put it into a proper team, then it doesn't matter, because it's part of a team. It'll be archived along with the rest of the team when that finishes.
And certainly, you know,
even if you've got it on OneDrive, then you can use the share button in the document to create a link to it and just copy the link in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So generally it's better to share things and post links rather than to be uploading documents all over the place.
And you know, when we're using it at AMT, we tend to, if we're having a conversation that involves certain documents, we'd probably be having that conversation within the team for that project. So you know those documents are there anyway. And also, if you're kind of chatting about a document that you've got open in the documents area of Teams, in the files area of Teams, you can have a conversation alongside that document that's an enduring conversation that sits alongside that. So you can see the comments that are made by people. You know, Colin's saying, can you just edit paragraph 2 on there? Then that's there. I'm not going to forget about it because it's noted in the corner there, so it's quite handy.
It does also stop the kind of behaviour whereby somebody deletes something that somebody else put in, and that person says, no, I want that put back in, and then they add it and somebody else deletes it. You can actually have a conversation around it, say, why do you want that deleted, or don't you think that's useful? So you've got a record of it as well. Did that answer your question, Laverne? Sorry, I kind of went a little bit around the houses there a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions there? Okay, well, I'll just kind of wrap things up a bit there. And Heidi, thank you very much for all your help on that and for taking us through all of that. Some really useful stuff again. I hope you all got something out of that this afternoon. If you do have any questions that pop up after, don't hesitate to give me a shout. As I say, I will be sending out the slide deck to everyone, so you can kind of whistle through the slides there. We are also offering some kind of more in-depth training. So we're doing some end user training, half-day end user training that takes you through quite a lot of detail on things, and that runs from the next one of those is on the 12th of May. That's £50 per person to attend for a half a day, which is an absolute snip. And actually, we're giving a 25% discount for anyone that's been on the webinars as well. And then on the 21st of May, we'll be running a full day admin and best practice course. Again, fabulous course. And that one's £100. And I will just pop the link up here. There we go. So that's the link to where there's a bit more about it on our website, and I'll also put that link in the email that I send out with the slide deck as well. So Thursday we'll be doing another webinar on Thursday afternoon. That'll be more of a deep dive into things. So there's some kind of useful stuff in that as well. It looks a little bit more at the strategic side and how you roll teams out, things to look out for, a little bit more about governance, that kind of side of things. I think that's all that I wanted to say to you guys. I mean, if anyone does have any questions, as I say, I can't stress it enough, just give me a shout. And we can put you in touch with one of our consultants who can certainly help if you've got any specific queries or bugbears about teams that you need us to give you a bit of assistance with. We are offering discounts on any consultation. If you need sort of a bit more time, any consultation to help you guys working from home. With that, I'll wrap things up. So thank you so much, guys. That was really good. You all stay safe out there, and give me a shout if you've got any questions.
Thanks, Heidi. Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.
Everybody's gone to the moon.
Cool. Thank you, Heidi.
Sorry if that was a bit upside. Colin decided quite last minute they wanted to change.
Yeah.
Like, oh right, okay.
Excellent.
So yeah, that went a bit wrong, but yeah, never mind. It'll be better next time.
That's right. Still good.
All right.
Cool.
Take care.
Thank you for that, Heidi. I'll catch you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Cheers now. Bye.